Welcome back to Switch to Linux. It's another morning coffee break with a quick little news article and some thoughts and discussions around that. So, today I actually wanted to spend some time talking about this campaign from the Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood against YouTube. Now, I gotta say, obviously, I'm a YouTuber, so kind of impacts me in that way. And I'm also a privacy advocate, and so anytime somebody says, we're collecting information from children, my eyes perk up a little bit. I gotta say, after looking at all this stuff, I side with YouTube. Let me tell you why. So first, what's going on? This was first broken in the New York Times. I'm actually be reading from the article from The Verge because they do a little bit more information gathering and things like that. So basically, let's first talk about this group, Campaign for Commercial-Free Childhood. There are things about this group that I really like. These are the guys that broke the story and raised awareness and subsequently essentially shut down the Aristotle, which was... Oh, wow, you want to talk something freaky and scary. The Aristotle was a child's speaker. Basically, you would put this in your child's bedroom. It was by one of the big toy companies. I forget which one, so I'm not going to name a name lest I accidentally, it's the other one. But it was one of the major toy companies. It was a small company's project. It was bought out by a larger one. It was designed to be the child's smart speaker. You put it in your child's room when they're still a baby, and it detects from all the ambientness when your baby's asleep, when your baby's awake. It'll soothe the baby to sleep with some soothing music. It will monitor the amount of items in the bedroom, so like, how many diapers are in there. It'll detect when you're low in diapers and ask you, oh, would you like me to order more from Amazon? And, I mean, this thing was freaky, and I'm very glad that this group took a stand against it. Now, on the more neutral end, they take a stand against things like advertising on television. These guys hate any and all advertising marketed towards or targeted towards children, which I can fully understand and get behind. I think we are in a way too over-commercialized world, and it is too difficult to not have AI that is marketing towards whomever they deem appropriate, child or not, despite you figure in the AI would have the ability to do something about it. Now, in this case here, they're just looking for headlines and trying to raise controversy and trying to raise problems for YouTube. And the reality is, what they're saying here is they're alleging that YouTube is, let's see, let me just go ahead and read parts of the article now. YouTube is facing a new complaint from a coalition of consumer advocacy groups that claim that the popular video website has broken child protection privacy laws by collecting information on underage viewers in order to sell ads. All right, and so... of course, the law they're talking about is COPPA, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Excuse me. And what this does is it is an online law that any company which specifically targets anyone under the age of 13 must have full parental consent to gather any of that data. And so it says that YouTube is in violation of this. Citing that they'll look at videos and see commercials targeting kids. That's the first thing I'm going to raise awareness in, because we are in this interesting world where adults buy just as many toys as kids do in some instances, okay? My cousin's got a Lego fetish. He buys Legos all the time, okay? That's cool. Because as we grew up as children not having much, we really go back to the nostalgia of youth. You can see the number of very successful YouTubers and very successful other people. Like a friend of mine's brother or brother-in-law, whatever, was a neurosurgeon. His favorite thing to do when he got home from the hospital was build Legos, because building Legos helped him. It just helped him get his mind off of the craziness. We're in a world where I still love playing the old Nintendo games we played as children. I don't know anything about these new games for whatever. I don't even know. I don't care. I think the newest video game I play at any amount of times is Black Ops 1. Okay, I just don't play a lot of modern games, but I love all the old nostalgic Nintendo games. Okay, those are we reach out sometimes in this current culture. In fact, there's a fabulous book on the subject. It's called Rejuvenile. It is by an author named Christopher Noxon, and he outlines this. Now, I think to the extreme, this becomes a challenge. But you can't just say, well, this is a commercial for a toy, therefore it's to a child. Because in our world, adults buy and play with toys too. Whether you think that's cool or not, I'd encourage you to read that book by Christopher Noxon. Make your own thoughts and views. I think there's times it goes way too far. I think it's a little odd, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that for now. But the fact is, just because it's a commercial for a toy doesn't necessarily mean that commercial is targeted to a child these days. I mean, there are clearly toy commercials targeted to adults too. I mean, I'm not completely dismissing it. What they're saying is basically they're saying that YouTube is collecting all this information. Now, here is why I'm on YouTube's side. There's two major things. Number one, according to its terms of service, YouTube says the site is explicitly not intended for children under the age of 13. Document even says that if you are under 13, please do not use the service. Okay. Now, the coalition comes back and says, we feel the terms of service isn't explicit enough warning, and YouTube could do more to notify parents and obtain consent before tracking and selling ad user. Like what? Like what? I'm going to come back to that point after I make my other one, because I had a very fascinating conversation with somebody on this very topic this week before this article broke, and so I'm going to talk about that. The second reason I'm standing with YouTube is they have an app geared for kids. Now, yes, there's problems in the app geared toward kids, and they're getting those problems solved, which is good. That we don't need Elsygate happening. The YouTube app does not algorithmically gather data. Although it may serve some ads, it's not specifically targeted ads. But you know what? In the absence of targeted ads, the reason I don't like targeted ads is because it gets too close to titillating our subconscious, and that's a problem. Okay, that's why I'm against a lot of this. But in the absence of targeted ads, user-targeted ads, in the absence of that, the system will feed a video or an ad that is more related to the content. So it makes sense to me, if you're watching a video that is about Barbie dolls, to see an ad for Barbie dolls is an appropriate thing. If you're not ad tracking, I'd be more suspicious if I start watching a video about Barbie dolls. Well, I'd get suspicious of myself anyway. But if I start watching an ad about Barbie dolls on the YouTube Child's app, and then I start seeing something for, I don't know. I'd have a hard time coming up with something, but maybe something related to some service that I might have looked up recently. That would be more disturbing. That would be the evidence that they're actually serving ads relevant to that child's viewing history. According to them, and I'm going to take them at their word because I haven't seen evidence otherwise, their YouTube app does not collect what the children does, and it is with channels selected for that. Yes, they should have done a better job. Yes, I'm aware of Elsygate. That was a problem with the app that hopefully should be resolved. But the fact is, they have a child service. They have a non-child service. The non-child service collects information on its users where the users allow that. I don't allow that because I don't use the apps at all anyway. I just use the websites. And that's what I would encourage anyone to do anyway. Use the website, not the app. You have more granular control over it. Okay, the article goes on. They say, while part of the problem may stem from the fact that parents are simply violating YouTube terms of service by allowing children under 13 to use the site, consumer rights groups complaint claims that YouTube is still tailoring ads to younger users who are using the site. And that's the part where I talked about earlier. I don't necessarily think they are, because it's just as reasonable in 2018 to assume an adult is interested in that toy commercial as much as it is to assume a child is. I mean, that's my thought. Okay, let's see. In response to the New York Times, YouTube said that it would evaluate if there are things they can improve, but reiterated that YouTube is not for children and directed younger users towards the YouTube Kids app, which offers more filtered content and more robust parental controls. There is also some rumor about a more completely curated version of the app, but we'll talk about that another time. All right, so what's the other thing that I had a conversation with that more relates to the first point? Well, it comes down to the fact that in this age, unfortunately, we have a lot of internet-raised children. Okay, I know for a fact that a lot of, how do I rephrase this? Okay, if you look in the laws as to how movie ratings happen, how video game ratings happen, how television game ratings happen, these happened because the industries, those respective industries, did not want to get regulated. With music, it was Frank Zappa and whatever Al Gore's wife's name was, I forget what her name was. It was congressional debates between them in the mid-'80s that led to parental advisory explicit lyrics being put on some music albums. That was kind of the music industry's way of responding. Of course, a few years prior to that, a couple decades prior to that, you had the Motion Picture Associations of America and all of the hoopla surrounding all of that, kind of starting in the Hays Code and moving into a lot of other different sociological factors. I'm writing a book on this whole topic. I could talk for hours, so I'm not going to. But what happened is all these industries, the movies, the television, the video games, and the music, they all opted to self-regulate themselves rather than subject themselves to governmental regulation. That's why we have movie ratings. It's an imperfect system, but frankly, it's a system I'd rather have. I want the music industry, the movie industry, the television industry. I like the current systems because it tells me as an informed consumer, is this going to be something that I'm going to object to? I love, and I had the kids that I mentored when I was back out west, and I mentored a lot of kids, and I had the kids over Friday night. I have a whole group of teenagers over Friday nights. We'd eat pizzas and popcorn and movies and video games and all this. And we'd go out, and we still had rental stores out there because it was like the wild, wild west. We'd go out there, and these kids were very well trained as to what movies you can get. It's like, I don't care what movie y'all watch at home. That's up to you and your parents and how you and your parents regulate your own lives. In my house, we will not watch movies with suggestive content. We will not watch movies where it's an F-bomb every other word. We're not doing those. Okay? And so the kids were so well trained, when we'd go out to the video store to look for whatever movies we're going to rent for that night, they would look at the movie, they would flip it over, they'd look at the thing on the bottom. Because that was the expectation for coming to my house and watching a movie. I can't control what movies they watch the other 6 days of the week. I can't control that. But I can control what video games. I didn't let them play GTA 5 in my house. They owned it. They could play it at their house. They could play it all they wanted at their house. You come to my house, we're not playing GTA 5. There's too much objectionable content to me and my morality. Okay? But I support them being in existence. What we need is parents who will actually teach their kids, train their kids, and set rules for their kids. And so this raised the discussion that I was having with a friend of mine the other day about internet-raised children. Because he was talking about, a couple people that he knew that were completely raised on the internet. I mean, from 6, 7, 8 years old, unfettered access to the internet. They are crazy, disobedient, porn-addicted, young people. It's bad. Really bad. And their parents give them smartphones, don't put filters, don't monitor what they do, and it leads to people who are the future delinquents of America's club, quite honestly. And that's why I joined on YouTube's side. As much as there's some problems they're doing, dude, they got a child's app. They tell it in their terms of service. If their complaint is, well, they're not doing enough because people aren't reading the terms of service. Well, join the party. Y'all aren't reading the terms of service. That's why I don't use the Brave browser, because I read their terms of service. And I won't use it. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate what they add. Okay? That's why I won't use some things, is because of the terms of service. They have that out. Our legal world says that's what has to be there. If you agree to it or you disagree to it, it doesn't matter. If you click the button that says you read it and you agreed to it, you agree to it. If you don't want your child on YouTube, there's very simple things you can do about it. Why don't you run Elementary OS on your home computer where they have really great, robust, built-in parental controls, and you can control the amount of time they're on the internet or what applications they're using, when and where. If you don't want the children at your home on YouTube, block YouTube. If you don't want your children on YouTube's app, don't give them a smartphone when they're too young, especially when they're under 13. If you're under 13, you shouldn't have a smartphone anyway, because it gives you too much ready access to everything out there on that smartphone is a violation of COPPA. But if you, as the parent, have handed that phone to your child, you are essentially saying, I don't care about COPPA. This campaign for the commercial-free childhood, they can do great things for their own children by not giving them a smartphone. But YouTube has done everything it can. It has said, this is not for children. It encourages people to read the documentation. It tells you that if you're using the basic app, there's a problem. It tells you there is a kid-focused app that does not push advertisement based upon data tracking, and it does not collect private data. If a bunch of kids are running around being internet-raised children, that's actually bad for society, but you know what? Not my business. That's why I do what I do here on Switch to Linux. I teach people how to do privacy. You want to learn about privacy through blocking your host files? I got videos on that. You want to stay up to date on the news and what's going on in tech and privacy? I got videos for that. I am about teaching and educating the people about the things that you do. We can't control what everyone else does. We can control what we do. That's our life. So I stand with YouTube on this. The campaign for the commercial-free childhood, I've agreed with some of the things they've done over the past, but this one here is just trying to raise a ruckus where there is no ruckus. So guys, chill. Just chill. So thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to help support the channel, it helps me take some time out of my day to do the content. Otherwise, I'd have to work more. No, I work a lot, but if you guys want to help support the channel, check out switchlinks.com/support. There's also Amazon affiliate links down below, and you can also check out shop.switchlinux.com, where I have things they can pick up, coffee cups, or I even have travel mugs, t-shirts, things like that. So you can check out shop.switchlinux.com for that. And there's a Patreon page, patreon.com/TomM, if you're interested in supporting over there. So thanks for watching, folks. Hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.